Hello everybody and welcome to Reprieve Media CIC's Double Handful, the first radio broadcast of 2019. My name is Paul Newman and hopefully we should be joined by the co-host Monica McCarthy all the way from Decatur, Illinois. A very snowy recently Decatur, Illinois. Monica, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. How are you today?
Fantastic. Yes, all is good. Thank you very much. So the reason we're here today is for the Pegasus World Cup, a fairly new race. Anyway, so Monica, firstly, how have you been and how's everything going in the States?
I've been doing pretty good, and it is colder than a witch's bleep here. It's colder than blue blazes. I woke up this morning with 3 degrees.
So Monica, before we start, we're just going to talk about the Pegasus World Cup quickly. Before we start, just if you could, just tell the listeners a bit about the Pegasus World Cup, please.
Okay, the Pegasus World Cup is a $9 million race that's held in Gulfstream Park, Hallandale, Florida. There's 12 horses in the race. It goes a mile and a half, 9 furlongs. This is the 3rd year for the Pegasus World Cup, and we're excited today to talk about all the horses that are in the race.
Yeah, £9 million. That is a truly incredible prize money, isn't it? Really, £9 million for one horse race. I mean, obviously, with it being at the start of the year, people might have thought that a lot of these horses would just be starting out, but really, we didn't do too bad here. If people were shrewd enough to listen to our Breeders' Cup review show, we've actually previewed a lot of these horses already, because 2 races from the Breeders' Cup that we said at the time, the logical progression of the horses was to probably end up in races like this, and lo and behold, that's exactly pretty much what's happened, isn't it?
Yes, definitely. There's a lot of names on the card for the Pegasus World Cup that we have already talked about, and a few that we haven't talked about, a few that we don't know a whole lot about, like the Mexican horse.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's going to be a superb race without any shadow of a doubt. I mean, we've got to really talk first about the Breeders' Cup Classic. I mean, you've got the winner of the Breeders' Cup Classic, Accelerate, is turned up today, and you've also got Gunavera. You know, and that ran a superb race at the Breeders' Cup. Really bounced right back to his best, and I thought really that it wouldn't surprise me if them two, Accelerate and Gunavera, this might be their last race.
And see, Gunavera was 3rd in last year's Pegasus. You know, he knows the race. He likes Gulfstream Park. He's got the morning line on him is 8-1.
Yeah, I think that's a fair price.
He's a fast closer too. You got to watch backstretch because he's going to be coming.
Oh yes, without any shadow of a doubt. And also Accelerate. I mean, I think personally they'll both go to stud after this race, and they'll make good solid American stallions looking at the races they've won and that. They're both 5 years old. Maybe they go on to the Dubai World Cup. I wouldn't be ruling that out. Maybe some of these end up in the Dubai World Cup as well. You know, that's only a few weeks away. I would definitely not rule that out.
Yes, Accelerate's won the last 6 of 7 races. He swept California G1 races. Of course, he was named the Eclipse for the best older male yesterday at the Eclipse Awards right there at Gulfstream Park. He does well at 9 furlongs as well.
Yeah, it's a trip that American racing seems to like. They all seem to be that. We have 10 furlongs here, 8 furlongs. We have the odd 1 mile, 1 furlong race, but nowhere near as many as America. But to me, I think that, like you said, Gunavera and Accelerate, from their run in the Breeders' Cup, that is top solid form, and them two really have to go close based on that run, don't they?
in the gate, and they're off. In the 35th Breeders' Cup Classic, and some crowding down inside. Roaring Lion and Catholic Boy both took the worst of it. Mendelssohn sent hard out after that lead. It's Mendelssohn in front, bias for the first time. McKenzie's right there, and Thunder Snow down inside. West Coast is forced outside by his stablemate as they race for the clubhouse turn, and it's Mendelssohn in front. McKenzie moves up to be second on the outside. West Coast is wide into the clubhouse turn, racing third. Thunder Snow gets a great spot down inside fourth. Pavel's not far behind, running in fifth. Accelerate for that outside post is 3 wide, while sixth. Roaring Lion moves up from the inside seventh. Catholic Boy is wide in eighth. Mind Your Biscuits 4 wide, racing in ninth. Axelrod is 10th by 3, and then it's Gunnevera 11th by another 4. Then we come back to Yoshida, who's just out of Discreet Lover, and late running Lone Sailor is the last of them all. The pace is fast, 22 and 3 to a 46 and 2 half mile. There's 5 furlongs to go. Mendelssohn is the leader, but there's plenty of company from a Bob Baffert duo of McKenzie and West Coast on the outside. Thunder Snow is still tucked away toward the rail. Accelerate is given a nudge, up to be fifth on the far outside. Then it's Pavel racing sixth. Axelrod is seventh. Mind Your Biscuits is coming with his rally, trying to go past Catholic Boy. Gunnevera's kicking in from the back of the pack. He was outside, now he's inside, and Yoshida's following him round the far turn. Lone Sailor's trying to pick it up as well as they race for the top of the stretch. Mendelssohn is still in front. Mendelssohn comes to the top of the stretch. Here comes Accelerate on the outside. Thunder Snow's next set to strike in behind. They're off the turn. They're into the stretch. Mendelssohn, Accelerate. Thunder Snow trying to split those two as they come to the final furlong. Yoshida continues to close. Axelrod and Lone Sailor and Gunnevera by the 8th pole in the Breeders' Cup Classic. It's Accelerate in front. Thunder Snow continues to battle. Gunnevera continues to close. Yoshida's on the outside. They're coming to the wire. Accelerate trying to hold, and he does! Accelerate wins the 35th Breeders' Cup Classic. Gunnevera was second. It's tight for third between Thunder Snow and Yoshida.
Accelerate in the Breeders' Cup Classic to give John Sadler his first Breeders' Cup victory and some redemption. With the bettors making him the favorite in the end, he certainly had to earn it.
How good does that have to feel for John Sadler? Breeders' Cup Classic win times 10, getting the monkey off his back in the biggest race run here at the Breeders' Cup, and Accelerate didn't have an easy time of it, but man, Gabby, he gutted it out.
Well, let's talk about this pace scenario. I mean, we have very rarely seen fractions like this, 22 and change, 46 and change, I think, for the half. I mean, they were rolling up front.
Number 14,
and it
Accelerate
really
was
did create a perfect situation for Accelerate.
Yeah, there was some crowding toward the inside of the gate in particular. Looked as if Catholic Boy and Roaring Lion kind of got shut out a bit as a hazard of the break, with a couple horses kind of jostling there, in part, I think, with Mendelssohn toward the outside, just quarter-horsing it quite literally out of the starting gate.
And a gutsy performance by Thunder Snow. Gunnevera picking up the pieces. Thunder Snow showing that stamina from the inside to grab the show dough, I believe here, although it was a photo for third, but Accelerate gets it done, 5-2 favorite. Lots of people, including myself, a little bit skeptical, but you have to be skeptical against the favorite sometimes. This is one favorite, though, that got the job done, and he certainly deserves it.
Joel Rosario will take the weekend with 2 Breeders' Cup victories yesterday, including a very promising 2-year-old and game winner who, well, could be the early favorite for the Kentucky Derby, and now the winner of the Breeders' Cup Classic. Accelerate with Joel Rosario. John Sadler has to be so relieved, in addition to happy, over this victory. A lot had been made out of the numbers. He never seemed to take it too much to heart. He always said, I'm proud of the performances of the horses I've brought over here, and I think one of these days there'll be one with my name on it.
How about this year in general about bucking those types of trends? I mean, it started with Justify, never having raced at 2, and the winning the Kentucky Derby. After that, we see John Sadler going over, Enable coming from the Arc to the Breeders' Cup. It's been such a tremendous weekend.
With Fred Hertrick of the Breeders' Cup, Costa, you get a lot when you win a Breeders' Cup Classic. You're going to be presented with this hardware, winner's share of a $6 million purse, and the timepieces from Longines. Longines, the official watch and timekeeper of the Breeders' Cup. Fred?
What a race. What a race. On behalf of the Breeders' Crown Breeders' Cup board and all the management team, as well as the Churchill board and management team, this was the culmination of the greatest Breeders' Cup in history, and it is the World Championship, and the Ronases had the World Champion today in the Classic. My compliments to them, my congratulations to them and their entire team. And Mr. Ronas has traded his Rolex in for 2 Longines, he told me. So, to our sponsor, Longines, it's wonderful. Thank the crowd and all of the fans that came out today. You saw some of the greatest racing ever in the history of thoroughbred racing. So
Costa,
thank you very much.
What does it mean to win this Breeders' Cup Classic, but specifically with John Sadler?
Yeah, to win it with John Sadler is an honor for the Ronas family, no doubt. We're very proud. We owe all this to John and his great job and his team and everything he's done for horse racing.
Enjoy it. Congratulations, Costa.
Thank you very much.
Mike, accelerate brilliant in the 35th Breeders' Cup Classic.
Right, yeah, before we actually look at some of the horses we haven't taken a really good look at yet, it'd be rude of us not really to just mention another 2 quickly before we have a proper look at the race. The first 3 home in another race that we looked at in our review show. It's funny how things like that happen. Anyone would think we knew what we were doing and what races we needed to be watching. You know, it just happens purely by accident, folks. So basically, what we've got here is the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. I mean, it was a race really that I wasn't really that keen on at the time, but it's turned out to be quite crucial in this race. And you've got the very impressive winner of that race. It has to be said. Another horse which I've been reading in dispatches in America really is going to stud after this race as well. Is City of Light moniker.
Yes, City of Light. He's got more speed than Accelerate. Of course, he beat Accelerate at this same distance of a 9-furlong race earlier in 2018. It was only a grade 2 race, but it was the Oak Lawn Handicap that's down in Arkansas.
Yes, it is worth remembering there. Monica's made a good point there, actually, that all the horses we were talked about before from the Breeders' Cup Classic are actually dropping down a furlong in trip here. So they could be susceptible to a quicker horse, especially if coming off the pace as well. Coming off the pace over 1 mile 2 furlongs is a lot easier to do than over 9 furlongs, isn't it, Monica?
Exactly.
I mean, we have to touch really as well on the placed horses in the Dirt Mile as well. They've turned up as well for what looks like another thrashing. Seeking the Soul, he was a well beaten second in the Dirt Mile, and then even a better beaten third is my old mate Bravazzo, the perennial placed horse in these races. Really has been a credit to Connections. He gets placed no end of times, but the trainer D.W. Lucas, I get the impression he's pot hunting a bit with him. I'd like to see him place him a bit better and try and pick up a Group 3 with him or a Group 2 with him, because no one can begrudge the horse any victories. You know, he's been a good, honest horse for Connections. Wouldn't surprise me if he finished in the first 5 or 6 here as well, because that's the sort of horse he is. He's always picking up a few dollars for Connections, isn't he?
He in the Preakness in the second part of the Triple Crown in Maryland, that was the race that had a bunch of fog where you couldn't hardly see the race because it was so foggy there that day. And Bravazzo was coming on. He's kind of a fast closer that day, and he just about got a hold of Justify. He just ran out of real estate at the end.
Yeah, just thinking about that race now, what an awful result that would have been for American racing if Bravazzo would have beat Justify.
He almost did it.
He did, and nobody would have seen it because it was foggy as anything. I remember the race well. It reminded me of Goodwood on a crisp Saturday, crisp autumn September evening here or afternoon in England. It's a track I like to bet Goodwood, and yeah, plenty of fog there as well. I've watched a few horses in the fog at Goodwood. I know it's a bit of a contradiction in terms of that because you can't watch them, because you can't see them. But yeah, I know exactly what you mean there. Definitely. Yeah, and Bravazzo, and like you said, Seeking the Soul. I mean, if I think personally, I'm going to say this now, that if either of them two win, Bravazzo or Seeking the Soul, I think people might as well just throw their form books away, Monica.
They're all in line, ready for a start of the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, and they're off. Catalina Cruiser broke to the far, far outside. City of Light is off to a good start for that inside post, and Seven Trumpets broke well too. Firenze fires up close. Bravazzo. Catalina Cruiser joins the field on the far outside, up to be fourth as they head up the chute and race for the main track. So it is City of Light who comes on through to set the pace. Plenty of company though. Seven Trumpets is right there. Firenze Fire 3 wide, and Catalina Cruiser on the far outside. A break of 3 lengths back. Trigger Warning comes on to be fifth on the inside. Isotherm splits rivals up into sixth. Bravazzo seventh. Giant Expectations and Seeking the Soul at the back of the pack. Solid opening quarter mile. 22 and 3/5 seconds. City of Light shows the way. Firenze Fire not far behind, and neither is Catalina Cruiser on the outside. Halfway home in 45 and 1. Seven Trumpets has lost a bit of ground, is back fourth and inside. Bravazzo feels a crack of the whip, fifth on the outside with 3 furlongs to go. Seeking the Soul starting to make some progress. Here comes Seeking the Soul now, racing up into fourth on the outside. Round the far turn, City of Light still going strong. The whip is out on Catalina Cruiser, very wide off the turn with Firenze Fire. Seeking the Soul splits horses. Bravazzo down the center of the track, but they're racing for the 8th pole. And City of Light with a powerhouse performance, a 4-length lead. But Seeking the Soul continues to close, getting closer, but so is the wire. City of Light, 4-length lead. Now it's down to 3. Seeking the Soul and Bravazzo. City of Light dominates the dirt mile, wins by 2.5. Seeking the Soul was second, Bravazzo was third, Firenze Fire was fourth. Catalina Cruiser off the board.
A round of applause. The crowd roars for your Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile winner in City of Light. What a performance we just saw. But guys, I think the race was won really on the backstretch when nobody decided to go to the lead and Javier said, I'll take it.
He took it, and not only that, he gave him the fractions were quick, right? But because he had no pressure, do you see that long rein he had on there? That horse was able to take a deep breath and then eked him. So he got himself a little bit of padding, and then turning for home, they weren't going to catch him. He came off the turn a little bit, but other people were wider. Brilliant ride there, and I'm so excited for Mike McCarthy.
Look at how Catalina Cruiser, though, breaks outward. I mean, this is your 4-5 favorite in here, and I think all hope was lost once that happened.
Well, Gabby, you alluded to the fact that this horse has been really down on the inside. He's never been on the outside before, so that was a whole different situation for him, and it's impossible to school for.
1, 6, 8, 7, 9, your unofficial order of finish here. An impressive performance we just saw from City of Light. Congratulations to Mike McCarthy and Javier Castellano.
We're back live in the press conference room with the connections of Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile winner City of Light. It's a family affair for the Warrens. Left to right is Andrew Warren. Next to Andrew is Suzanne Warren, her husband William Warren, and on the far right, John Kelly Warren. So congratulations to all 4 of you. City of Light has been an incredibly consistent horse and just put forward a very dominating kind of, I imagine as races go, this was sort of a fun, even a somewhat calm one, maybe for an owner with the possible exception of the first 100 yards.
Well, no, I don't think it was calm. I was very nervous, as a matter of fact, and just was hoping that we'd get a good trip out of this. And we had a great jockey and a great trainer, and that did give me a lot of confidence, so to speak. But I have to say I'm never calm in these races because it's so exciting to the Warren family, and I'm so proud that my 2 sons and wife are owners of City of Light with me. That makes it so special. And I'm just so proud of our horse. I just have believed in him, and I feel really great that we beat Accelerate over in Arkansas, and now we beat Catalina Cruiser. So I think that speaks beautifully for City of Light. We have so much fun with him. He's like part of the family. And we go to the barn early in the morning, and my wife just loves to tease him. And even John Kelly's wife was with us this morning, and he kept biting her bow on her blouse, and we were wondering if we're going to get here today.
Very good, William. Suzanne, you and William were not here literally, but in the winner's circle of the Breeders' Cup Classic back in 2005, a win that ultimately led to Horse of the Year honors. Does today bring back any of those great feelings from 13 years ago?
Oh, of course it does. You're never sure. You never know what's going to happen, but we had a lot of confidence in this horse, and no matter what, he's so beautiful, so athletic. Michael brought him along beautifully. He didn't race a lot early on because of his size, because he just wasn't ready. So we knew this was his moment, and we hoped he would have a good trip. We weren't crazy about the number 1 hole, but it prevailed, and we are thrilled beyond words.
John Kelly, your father was rattling off the John Sadler trainees that City of Light has vanquished during the year. While watching the race, were you sort of keeping one eye on your horse and another eye on Catalina Cruiser?
I had my eyes on City of Light the whole time. And, well, if I had another eye on something, it was the rest of my family who was up there as well. And just to see them so excited. I don't think I've heard Andrew yell so much in my life. But
he was pounding my shoulder.
Yeah, and I was pounding his shoulder. So my eyes were on City of Light the whole time. I knew he had to break quickly out of the 1 position, and he did. And I noticed in the other races that the horse who was in the number 1 position faded. So I was especially pleased to see City of Light continue and lead throughout the whole race.
Another thing we are looking to do now is Double Handful, the horse racing podcast. You've obviously heard some of the audio. The articles are going quite well, but it's really just myself at the moment. So I am looking for a lot more help with the Double Handful side. We are always looking for other people to get involved with the Double Handful project. Really, we're looking at the moment for maybe article writers or co-hosts even. Basically, we'll just talk about racing, talk about anything that interests us in the racing sector. You can have your own voice and you will be giving your own opinions live on air about the pastime you love. If that is something that interests you, then get in touch. The email address is info@reprievemediacic.epeasy.com. Say that once more. info@reprievemediacic.com. Hello everybody and welcome back to Double Handful. with myself, Paul Newman, and my co-host, Monica McCarthy. Monica, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
So that's really 5 of the 12 horses we've covered there. I think we've done really well there to cover them. We had them all there. We got them all there. We know it just goes to show that we do know what we're talking about on occasion. Right, so let's move on to some of the others. I mean, you have to say, really, I have to say anyway, that it's good to see this horse back on the track. I mean, I didn't realise it had a run already. It did have a run and it won. I'm talking, of course, about the winner of the Florida Derby, Audible. Todd Pletcher trained Audible, who you have to say, really, was a third in the Kentucky Derby. And brings some superb form to the table here. And he's really, possibly, I think, sneaked under the radar a bit because he didn't run in the Breeders' Cup. So, to me, it wouldn't surprise me if Audible ran all right as well. For old Flavian Pratt, the jockey, a brilliantly named jockey, Pratt by name. Let's hope he rides it well tomorrow. But, I wouldn't surprise me if old Audible ran well tomorrow, Monica. Have you got any views on that horse?
Yes, definitely. I agree with what you're saying. He's had a good time layoff. And what I read in the Daily Racing Form in Blood Horse magazine was that right after the Triple Crown races, they were claiming that there was something wrong with Audible. And they were going to go, scope him and do all these testing on him. And then he just fell off the radar. You didn't hear nothing about him until now. He's had a career 8 stars. He's always in the money. He does well at Gulfstream Park. Like you said, he was third in the Derby. I think he's an incredible horse. Just incredible. I'm glad to see him back. Went back in training, and he's in the race for tomorrow because he's definitely a contender, I believe, Audible.
Well, yeah, I did notice that, and I've not watched any of these races yet because my data allowance doesn't really allow me to watch races at Luxury at the minute. But he did actually run. He ran in the Group 3 Harlan's Holiday Stakes as well, whatever that race is. It's Harlan's Holiday, I'm presuming it must be some sort of horse. And that was run on the 15th of December, and he was second in that. So you could say, and he also ran in November as well in the Cherokee Run Stakes. That was only a black type race. So he's been back a while. He's been back a while under the radar from Todd Pletcher. He's given him a couple of runs, a couple of pipe openers, and you'd have to say now that you'd think Todd Pletcher, he can train horses. He must have this horse. He must think he's got a great chance with old Audible tomorrow. I agree with you.
I think Todd Pletcher's got Audible ready to go. Todd Pletcher is a decent trainer. He trained actually under Bravazzo's trainer, Dwayne Lucas, who they call the coach. And so he's had good training.
Right, yeah, so we're getting through them now. We're nearly down to the outsiders, but I really want to talk about this horse here, Monica. You're going to have to bear with me as I bang on for a bit. Because I think this horse is ridiculously overpriced. I can't see how it's a big price. I know it's not really got the form to match up, but to me, you're always looking for horses that are capable of doing something before they actually do it. That's the whole point of this sport. I think you've got to be able to predict what they're going to do. Which brings me on to a horse I know you like, Mendelssohn. He was beaten by this horse last time in the Cigar Mile. The horse is called Pattern Recognition, trained by, in my mind, an absolute genius by the name of Chad Brown. Seems as though he can train anything to win. This horse here, I can't see why it seems to have been underestimated. Well, I can and I can't really. It's Florida bred. Not many of them are. But what's your views on the horse, Monica? Jose L. Ortiz is the jockey. I mean, he's not a man I don't know much about, to be honest. But I'm hoping you've got to trust Chad's judgment. If Chad thinks he's good enough to ride the horse, then I'm more than happy for him to ride it. But Pattern Recognition, Monica, you got any views on that one?
Yes, a Pattern of Recognition. Ortiz is a good jockey. Horse. He's a speed horse. I see him in the future might be getting better. He's 10-1. I agree about Chad Brown. He could train anything. Also, just for Chad Brown, he was the Eclipse winner for the best trainer of the year. He did. He did win the Cigar Mile, and he did beat out number 7 True Timber Cigar Mile. He also won the Grade 2 Kelso. I think we should keep an eye on him. I see him at mid-tier in the race, in the middle of the pack. Also with Bravazzo. Those two, I think, at the middle.
That's fascinating because I've read it. That's fascinating to me because I've read it totally the opposite to you, Beth. Really, I mean, I think he'll try and lead all the way. There'll be him at the front, and there'll be the other one at the front, City of Light. Will be at the front, and this horse here, he watched the Cigar Mile. It just led all the way. You know, they couldn't peg it back. But he's going up a furlong here. He's going up to 9 furlongs from 8 furlongs. The sire, well, I've looked at the sire. I don't know if you remember the horse. He's called Adios Charlie. And he's quite a speed influence, like you said. You're spot on there when you said he was a speed influence, the sire, because a lot of the sires, good horses, have been running over a lot less, 6 furlongs, 7 furlongs. So I think maybe that is my only doubt with this horse, that if he does try and lead all the way, that he might not stay. Right. But I just think, and also what interested me, what you said about the horse, was that you think he might improve from this, because I feel that I think he's going to stud after this race, pretty much, because I noticed the breeding of the horse, and there was a horse in America recently. Apparently, he was a very famous horse in America. He won the Breeders' Cup Classic a few years ago, I think. He won the Breeders' Cup Classic called the Battle of Midway. And he was subfertile. He retired to stud, didn't he? And he was found to be subfertile, unfortunately for him. And the dam of that, he won the Dirt Mile moniker. He won the Dirt Mile in 2017 at Del Mar. So he then went to stud, and he was proved to be subfertile. And the dam of that horse, Rigoletta, was also a Grade 1 winner as well. You know, so this is a well-bred horse that we're dealing with here, Battle of Midway. And if you look at the dam of Battle of Midway, Rigoletta, that is actually out of the same. That is actually a sister to the dam of this horse here, Pattern Recognition. You see, the dam of Pattern Recognition, called Almost a Valentine, is out of the same dam as the dam of Battle of Midway. So if they're struggling, if they want to sire off that line, they're going to have to use this one moniker, I think. You know, so I think personally, if Pattern Recognition may be off to stud tomorrow after this race. I might be totally wrong, and he might win loads of races next season and then go to stud. But you look at, he's only raced 11 times in his career, hasn't he?
We'll have to see, but I would say they don't return to stud.
Oh yeah, well if he does, then he's going to go. He's going to run a great race tomorrow, isn't he? If he does, and he has to be up there if he does. He's won 11 times. He's been in the first 2 in 10 of them races. You know, and I know it's a big step up in form, isn't it? Though, from these graded handicaps, like you correctly said, the Kelso handicap and the Cigar handicap, it is a big jump. Although they are both Grade 1 races, this race here with proven Breeders' Cup horses in is a lot tougher than the races he's been running in, isn't it?
But like I said, Chad Brown, get him ready.
Sunny Ridge is in between them. True Timber up close through the early stages. As they get to the main track, Pattern Recognition will be the leader. Pat on the back now hustled up into second. True Timber is third. And Mendelson is fourth, only 2 lengths off the lead. Sunny Ridge is fifth. Coppertown is racing about 6 lengths off the pace. The 2 trailers are Stan the Man and Timeline is at the back. They zipped an opening quarter in 22 and 4/5 seconds. And Pattern Recognition takes the initiative. It leads it by a length and a half. Pat on the back second, and Mendelson is right there along the inside third. Then comes True Timber fourth, coming to the half-mile pole. Sunny Ridge is next. Stan the Man between horses. Coppertown gets a shove to get closer through a half in 45 and 3. And at the back remains Timeline. Around the far turn, Pattern Recognition has been there every step of the way. He does it well past the 3/8 pole in front, 3/4 of a length. Pat on the back. Mendelson comes under some serious pressure now as Coppertown circles up on the far outside. True Timber is just inside of him. They're followed by Stan the Man as the field turns for home. Pattern Recognition clings to the lead by a length and a half. Pat on the back. On the outside, True Timber is finishing well. Sunny Ridge comes alive down on the inside of Mendelson. They're in the final furlong. It's Pattern Recognition who just keeps on going. An outstanding performance from Pattern Recognition, coast to coast in the Cigar Mile. True Timber was second. Sunny Ridge finished third. And Mendelson wins the photo for fourth. The running time, 1 minute 34.98 seconds.
So yeah, like you said, we saw there in the Cigar Mile, Pattern Recognition. I don't think we can rule that out. But so that's pretty much most of them covered, Monica. We've got a few others really that we really may need to touch on a little bit. The outsiders. There's an Ontario horse in there, something awesome. We've got Tom's Detat, a 6-year-old horse. Well, that sounds obvious, but it could have been a gelding. We've got True Timber, Kieran McLaughlin horse. That's a big price, I suppose. I don't know much about that one. We've got Imperative, a 9-year-old gelding. And the Mexican runner, Kukul Khan. Now, that's won a lot of Group 1s in Mexico, but Frankie Dettori is the lucky man to ride that horse. Have you got any views on the outsiders, Monica, before we move on to the turf?
Not really.
So, as well as that, obviously, they're trying, really. This race is a relatively new race onto the pattern. So they're trying to build a supporting card around it as best as they can at the minute. And they've put on a Pegasus Invitational Turf race, a Group 1 race. Me, personally, I can't really weigh the race up. The weights seem all over the place. The conditions of the race really encourage horses not to take Lasix, in my view. Some horses, such as Magic Wand, who is the Aidan O'Brien trained horse, who's a very good horse in her own right. Anybody who watches her win the Ribblesdale Stakes at Royal Ascot will know that this horse on its day, and at Chester, it won at Chester as well. So on its day, it can be a good horse. And it's getting weight off some of these just for not taking drugs. It's getting a lot of weight off some of them. £12 off a horse, for instance, called Next Shares and Catapult. Got to give Magic Wand £12. Yeah, that's a lot of weight in this race. You know, I wouldn't be convinced as if Catapult was a better horse than Magic Wand at all. And also, you've got a few others in there, but it's a race I'm going to stay away from. But Monica, what do you make of the race?
I make of the race. I like number 4, Aerolith. It's the Japanese filly. It's 12 pounds less. This horse or this filly has won over males in G1 races. She likes to sit off the pace and then make a bid in the stretch. But the only thing I don't like about this horse, this might be too far of a stretch for this horse. It's going on a mile and 3/16. So I'm not quite sure if this filly's got the stamina for this particular race. He's got a good jockey, Florent Giroux. Got a good price of 8-1 on it. Got Yoshida. Good trainer, Bill Mott. Yoshida's back on the grass again. He was fourth in the Classic at the Breeders' Cup. Had a Grade 1 win at the Woodward. Now he's back on the grass again. He's 5-2. Like Paul said, we got Magic Wand, another filly with the famed trainer Aidan O'Brien. You pretty much said it all right there with this horse on a good day. She's won at Ascot, at Chester. You know, I can't say too much more about her than that. I mean, she's a good, solid horse. We've got Channel Maker, won a Grade 1 Joe Hirsch handicap. Canadian horse, was 11th in the Breeders' Cup turf. I think Channel Maker likes a little bit softer turf, where Gulfstream Park is more of a firmer turf. They may be calling for a little rain that day on Saturday. I'm not sure if it's going to soften up enough to Channel Maker's liking. It's got a good price at 12-1. Then we can go down to fifth horse. The fifth horse is Next Shares. Good price at 15-1. Don't like this one so much. Kind of faded in the Breeders' Cup Mile, this horse did, but has won the last 3 of 4 races. And then the number 6 horse is an old Donegal horse that they sold in a claiming race. She'll have 12 pounds less on her too. Her name is Fahan Murrah. She's filly. She's got a big price of 30-1. She's a speed horse, so she will be up there in the pace. I think she's stepping up too much in class for her. This is a big class jump for her. She's never faced any male horses.
I mean, I can jump in there as well to give you a quick break. Fantastic analysis there. This horse, I'm glad you talked about that one. I didn't know it used to be owned by your mates, Fahan Murrah. But I wouldn't rule this one out because, well, I would really, based on my selection the other night. There's a Grade 3 the other night called the Megahertz Stakes. And the couple of races in that, the Goldikova Stakes, Group 2, she was second behind the winner of that, Vasilika. Well beaten though. Vasilika won that race easily, the Goldikova Stakes. And then I noticed that Fahan Murrah did win the Robert J. Frankel Stakes, the Grade 3 though. And I did watch that race. It's part of my analysis for the Megahertz. It won easy. It's led all the way. But I noticed it's a big price, 30-1. So yeah, it must be chucked in well at the deep end, really. But it's like you say, it was well beaten in them 2 races. To me, it looks slightly a bigger price. I mean, you mentioned a horse there, Channel Maker, and Next Shares, and I would give Fahan Murrah a better chance than them 2, in my own personal view. And Fahan is double the price, you know. But like you say, it's a lot further than I think the Robert Frankel Stakes was a mile that I watched, right. You know, and I'm not really sure about the form as well with Vasilika winning that easily, and you know that Fahan Murrah was well beaten that day in that Goldikova Stakes. But yeah, I mean, another one I wanted you to touch on quickly, as I don't know anything about it, is the genius Chad Brown's got another one in there with Irad Ortiz Jr. on it called Bricks and Mortar. What do you know about that one?
Bricks and Mortar, been 2 for 2 at Gulfstream Park, so Bricks and Mortar really likes Gulfstream. But coming back after a 14-month break, pretty good price at 5-1. I wouldn't rule this one out. It's a pretty good horse.
What about Catapult? Didn't he run well at the Breeders' Cup, didn't he, Catapult? I mean, to me, if this race, he looks wrong at the weights, Catapult, to me, based on what I've seen in my own eyes. I think if he was to win this race, giving weight away to a lot of these, like you've noticed already, the Japanese filly, who I To be honest, that could be a great shout from you, because the Japanese would have seen the prize money for that race and thought, yeah, we'll have some of that. And it's prime in their season as well. I mean, that horse, I'd never really, to be honest, I thought it was a different horse. There was a Japanese filly that won in France earlier in the season. I thought it might have been that one, but it's not. I've just looked. But yeah, 8-1 for that Japanese mare. That could be anything, couldn't it? And I don't think it might necessarily take a top class horse to win this race. No, I just don't. And Catapult, to me, what do you think of his chances?
I think he's a serious player. He's very versatile. He's multi-graded. He likes to stalk the pace. So he's, like I said, he's very versatile. So he could be sitting there just waiting and go right on by. I think he's a good contender for this race. I like him. Well, his price is 7-2, but I still like him. Fair enough. I think he's wrong at the weights. I don't think the conditions of the race favour him at all. I just don't. I can't see it. If he wins, I think it'll be a career best performance from him. To give weight away to, I mean, I know it's the same. The same could be said of Yoshida, but to me, Yoshida's always looked a good horse. He ran well at Royal Ascot as well earlier in the season. You correctly pointed out his form superbly, but he also came across to England and ran at Royal Ascot in the Queen Anne, and he ran all right, a respectable race. Right. But yeah, Yoshida and Catapult, really, looking at the weights of the race, it's going to be tough for them. They will need to be proper Grade 1 horses to win this race, I think. And maybe they are, but the last one is Debbie. This is a toss. It finished 11th of 13 horses in the only other Grade 1 race it's ever been in. So that's a toss.
Yeah, it says it all. That's what I mean about these prices, you see, that we're looking at here from the site. How can they have that at the same price as Fahan Mura? How is that possible?
It's not possible. And as a matter of fact, I've got Fahan Mura for my long shot.
I mean, I'd like Fahan Mura to win, or not win, or at least not be a respectable runner, because it'll give me a boost. It'll mean that I'm looking at the right races at least. It'll be another horse that I've managed to pick up along the way. And it's a long year. We're only in January. We need to start looking at horses, don't we? So the Fahan Mura was one I noticed, and I remembered it from the other races. I was amazed when I see it was 30-1 when I looked at the form in relation to the others. I mean, Channel Maker I've looked at a lot of times, and to me that's on the decline. Channel Maker, like you said, I'll be amazed if that's got another race in it. I think you can say the same about Next Shares as well, like you correctly said. I don't. Delta Prince, we haven't mentioned that one. Dettori's on Delta Prince. What are you going to tell us about that one quickly?
Oh, Delta Prince. He's got a good job. He seems, when you look at him, he kind of seems inconsistent, but 10 top 3 finishes in his last, races. He's been in the money. Got a good trainer, Jimmy Jerkins. He had a good workout. He had a bullet work going 6 furlongs at 1 minute and 10 seconds. He's got a good price at 15-1. Other than that, I don't know too much more about him.
Fair enough. Superb analysis. You know a lot more than me. So I think between us we got away with that race quite well. So we've previewed the runners now. I think we're just going to have a quick break now, and then we'll come back and we'll try and see what's going to happen in these races. Another thing we are looking to do now is Double Handful, the horse racing podcast. You've obviously heard some of the audio. The articles are going quite well, but it's really just myself at the moment. So I am looking for a lot more help with the Double Handful side. We are always looking for other people to get involved with the Double Handful project. Really, we're looking at the moment for maybe article writers or co-hosts even. Basically, we'll just talk about racing, talk about anything that interests us in the racing sector. You can have your own voice and you will be giving your own opinions live on air about the pastime you love. If that is something that interests you, then get in touch. The email address is info@reprievemediacic.epeasy.com. Say that once more. info@reprievemediacic.epeasy.com. Hello everybody and welcome back to Double Handful with myself, Paul Newman, and my co-host Monica McCarthy. Monica, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here, ready to wrap it.
Fantastic. So we've took a look at the races, the runners and the riders for the Pegasus World Cup and the Pegasus Turf Invitational, both Group 1s. We're going to now just give our opinions quickly on what we think might happen. Just two people. We don't take claim to know any of these people. We just look at the races and look at the form and form our own conclusions. I think that's always the best thing to do. So really, we're not saying don't really listen to us, but listen to us if you get what I mean. Listen to us preview the race, but we would always encourage everybody to pick their own horses. Well, I certainly would anyway. So Monica, we're going to start with the Pegasus World Cup itself. What do you think will happen there then?
I see City of Light, Accelerate, Guinevere, Bravazzo, and Pattern of Recognition.
Yeah, I mean, they look to me to be not much of a muchness because they're all very good horses. But if you could, if you were to say, what horse would you think would stand the best chance of winning the race if you had to pick the winner?
City of Light.
I mean, we looked at the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile plenty of times, and we both in the review show said this horse isn't stopping at the end. It might be a mile, but we didn't see anything there that would put us off him getting this extra furlong, did we, in this race?
Because he has beat Accelerate. He's got a spot on jockey, Javier Castellano. I just see it's his time to break through and win this race.
So do you expect him to adopt the similar tactics then, like try and dominate the field like he did in the mile, or do you think the jockey will ride him with a bit more restraint this time?
I don't know. His jockey Javier, he's a pretty proactive jockey. He may try to take him and just go. I'm not really sure what their strategy is going to be tomorrow, but I see City of Light up there. I see Accelerate up there too. So, and Accelerate does do well at 9 furlongs.
So when push comes to shove at the end, really in this race, you'd think it'd be a day for the Breeders' Cup form. You think will prevail, and one of the horses that ran well at the Breeders' Cup, Accelerate and City of Light, you can see them fighting out the finish again. Yes.
Yes, and then I can see Guinevere coming in, closing in too. I can see him doing that. He's a fast closer, and so is Bravazzo. I don't know if Bravazzo has enough. He's ran so many races this last year. I don't know if he's
Well, no, I mean, bravazzo's bravazzo, isn't he? I'll be amazed if he doesn't finish in the first 6. I'm disappointed at the same time because he's been beaten so many times. I'd like to see Bravazzo not figure in the finish of this race. It'd sort of put the race as what I think it should be because it's a high quality race, and that's why we're not sitting on the fence here. It's not an easy race to predict the winner out of. That should be clear to anybody who follows these races on any consistent basis. You know, these are tough races to predict. But me, I feel that I'm going to give Chad Brown a chance on old pattern recognition. I do feel that this is an important race for the horse. It was interesting to see where he stands in relation to some of these horses, and with him being related to Battle of Midway, the horse that was sadly subfertile the other day. It'd be a good result for Connections of the Dam as well if pattern recognition can run well. So that'd be my one, but I wouldn't go against anything what Monica said. Of course, the other 4, we could name 5 or 6 really that have got an excellent chance of winning this race. Monica, wouldn't you say?
And don't forget Audible too. I don't know where he stands in this mix.
Oh yeah, good shout. I mean, I totally forgot about old Audible. For me, Audible would be, if I was thinking of looking at pattern recognition seriously, Audible would be one I would be worried about because I would not know how good Audible was. The others, I think they're good horses. 6-year-old horses are 6-year-old horses. Very good, consistent. But what we've got to be looking at is do these horses have the potential to run better than these 6-year-old horses? They're yardsticks, really, 6-year-old horses. You know, what we're really looking for in this race is for an unexposed horse to really run past them and beat them. Is that possible? I don't know, but Audible, without any shadow of a doubt, would be one that I would think, yeah, good, I'm glad he won that race if he was to win. Because any horse that ran 3rd in the Kentucky Derby really deserves to win a race like this, doesn't he? So finally, the last race we're going to look at is the Pegasus Turf. We looked at the runners earlier. I mean, to me, like I said earlier, I was a bit non-committal about this race, really. Monica, what do you think will happen here then, Monica?
I'm still gonna hold on to Magic Wand and Catapult and Bricks and Mortar, and also for my long shot, I'm going with Fahan Murrah. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put anybody off anything in this race. For me, it's a race that I wouldn't be confident enough. Looking at the weights and the form of the horses, I wouldn't really be confident enough to suggest anything. But yeah, it wouldn't surprise me looking at the races I'd seen that if your long shot ran well as well, Fahan Murrah, I wouldn't put anybody off that. I've actually seen it run with my own eyes in the race I said. The Robert J. Frankel Stakes. It's a massive prize. I mean, we'll pick your own. Look at the race yourself. That'd be even better. But so Monica, you've picked them 3. If you had to name one of them, which one can you see passing the judge first?
Magic Wand.
I mean, yeah, you'd have to say that they've sent it there. And the horse hasn't won a Group 1 before. You know, it's only won Group 2s at Ribblesdale. And I think Chester was a listed race. You know, it looks favoured at the weights to me. It must have an excellent chance. You know, and I hope they can do it. I think they'll be pleased if it wins, Monica, that's for certain.
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay, so we're going to thank you very much, everybody, for listening. We're going to wrap this show up now. What we're going to do in the future, Monica, what do you think we'll be able to review this show maybe in a week or so, do you think?
Yes, definitely.
And then obviously, as we all know, then it's all roads head into the Kentucky Derby, isn't it?
Yes, we'll be looking at the 3-year-olds that are Becky Derby.
Yeah, we sure will. So, Monica, may I take this opportunity to say thank you very much for joining us tonight on Double Handful. As always, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you tonight.
I thoroughly enjoyed being on the show. Thank you.
No problem, and good luck with your selections on Saturday as well. Monica, thank you very much, and listeners, thank you very much for listening to Double Handful. I've been Paul Newman, and Monica, thank you very much, and goodbye.